I don't think the reaction has anything to do with what actually happened at the rally. The reaction was they're Nazis. We told you before the rally that they were Nazis. During the rally, as we watched, they look like Nazis. And now that the rally's over, we feel certain we've seen Nazis. So I disassociate the hysterical media reaction from anything that I have said and from reality. And it's a separate story. And let's get to it. Maybe the most absurd bit, but it was hard to choose this morning, comes from Jonathan Capehart, who both is a journalist, a print journalist, and also an MSNBC host on the weekend. Listen to him, SOT9.
Donald Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden comes days after his own former chief of staff went on record to describe his former boss as a fascist. But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
OMG, Andrew. For the listening audience, that was all the video was papering the screen there was of all these Nazis at the Madison Square Garden with doing the Heil Hitler, like as they said, as they were showing split screen of Trump signs, trying to lead you to believe there's maybe possibly it's the same event.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they did everything except for the slow dissolve, which is what I was expecting, where you go from the black and white footage to the color footage and you feel like you're sort of moving through time. Yeah, I've been to Madison Square Garden, I don't know how many times. I saw Springsteen there. I saw the Police there. I love Madison Square Garden. I grew up outside of New York City. I got to say, and I've studied history, I was not all that familiar with that rally. I guess I should be, but for that to be the sort of the instant connection that you draw when Trump goes there is a stretch by any imagination. And I think that the problem for the Harris campaign in doing that is, again, it's getting back to that sort of Hillary Clinton problem of defining your half the country as being enemies. If you're saying that everyone who was at that rally or watched that rally is a Nazi, it turns obviously people off. I mean, they don't believe it. It's not plausible, even for the people who don't support Donald Trump. They really don't believe their friends and neighbors are Nazis. They may disagree with them, but I think this is totally overstated. So I think I think the media is wrong to do it. And I think that cherry picking the Trump rally, even those jokes that weren't funny and those statements that were offensive, they don't rise to the level of fascism in any stretch of the imagination. I don't think there was a single comment there that I would say is, oh, that's fascistic.
Not one. I agree. And here's the other thing, you guys. As boneheaded as some of these comments were, the Democrats, of course, live in a glass house. So they had George Lopez at a Walz rally last week. I think it was last week or recently. And he made his own off-color joke about Mexicans being a bunch of thieves. Watch.
Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall. And George Lopez said, you better build it in one day, because if you leave that material out there overnight...
Okay, so that's
all right, Megan.
Hilarious. It makes no news, but you can't say funny. Puerto Rico, given all of its trash.
Funny.
It's funny, but I'm just saying, like,
there's a difference.
Do we have similar rules? And here's another one. You don't like that one, Carl. Here's another one.
No, I like it. I like the joke, but I don't think it really
the comparison.
It's not the same thing. Yeah, and he's Mexican American, so he can say it.
Okay, here's the other thing. Last week they had Eminem endorse Kamala Harris, which they celebrated. and introduced Barack Obama. Yay, Eminem. He's from Michigan. He loves me. Eminem, who they were holding up, they loved his endorsement. Here he is in introducing Obama last week, just as a reminder, saw 12.
And upheld. And here to tell you much more about that, President Barack Obama.
Okay, and here's just a highlight of some of Eminem's musings on his records. Play nice, bitch. I'll punch Lana Del Rey in the face twice like Ray Rice. Christina Aguilera, better switch me chairs so I can sit next to Carson Daly and Fred Durst and hear them argue over who she gave H. fellatio to first. Got pissed off and ripped Pamela Lee's breasts off and smacked her so hard I knocked her clothes backwards like crisscross. He's rapped about machine gunning women, murdering his ex-wife, slitting a cheating lover's throat, raping his mother, called Mariah Carey a C-word and a whore. His lyrics are always featuring rampant homophobia, including stabbing gay and trans people. And here's just another one from the song Kim, which was released not long ago. Take a listen to SOT 10.
You were supposed to love me! Now bleed, bitch, bleed! Bleed, bitch, bleed!
So sweet. That was from 2000. So, Tom, any double standard?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's some, but again, you know, Eminem, I don't know that you can play that sort of guilt by association game necessarily with artists who Eminem has a persona, and you may not like it, but you may object to it. But just because he introduces Barack Obama at a rally doesn't mean that, you know, Barack
and also
Obama
endorsed her.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that Barack Obama agrees with everything that Eminem has ever written in his songs or that Kamala Harris.
It's not about him, it's about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is in charge of who's going to show up at these events. She absolutely could say it's a no on Eminem. That's what I would say. I would say I like Eminem's music, but it's a no because this is not, again, a party in MK's basement. It is a political event. Go ahead, Tom.
No, look, you're right. Theoretically, she could do that. But I mean, you know, if you did that for every person who had something in their background that was offensive or disputable, you wouldn't have anybody to introduce Kamala Harris anywhere.
Bleed, bitch, bleed. I want to slit her throats. I want to smack her so hard I knocked her. I don't think that one's that nuanced. Here's what I don't like about it. I didn't freak out that Eminem was there. I saw what was likely to come their way. But once you've had Eminem come out and touted his endorsement, you can take a seat about offensive jokes from a comic at the Trump rally.
Fair enough. But let's go back to the first thing you said about this Nazi talk. I want to pick up where Andy left off. I thought those statements about the rally from liberal political commentators was uglier than anything said at that rally. To say he can't play Madison Square Garden, the iconic venue in Trump's hometown, because in 1939 there was a rally there. I was at Madison Square Garden with Bill Clinton. I saw Jimmy Carter give a salute, that sort of arms straight out salute that would, you know, if a Republican did it, they'd be all doing the pictures of Hitler next to him. And this is just, he has a right to play that venue. This little trick they played of unearthing this rally that most American voters, I knew about it, but most of them didn't. To somehow, I don't think Donald Trump did. And it happened before he was born. To link him with that is just such an underhanded rhetoric trick. I think, like I said, I think it was ugly, and I don't think it helps the country. And I think it was worse than these imbecilic people that we've been talking about who were the warm-up act.
They seem to be in a downward spiral right now. So they're amping up the Hitler rhetoric, the fascist rhetoric. Obviously, they're very worried about finishing this race in the place they want to finish it in, Andrew. And, you know, today we have a new poll out, ABC Ipsos, that shows Harris up 4 nationally outside the margin of error with likely voters. And I realize at this point, who knows what a likely voter is? I mean, it's like we're actually voting right now in many states. But that's a piece of good news for the Harris campaign, but there's been many pieces of bad news for the Harris campaign before this week, like in the last 8 to 10 days, and all the momentum has seemed behind Trump, which to me explains why they're really spiraling right now, and the rhetoric is going up at what it seems the same rate as their chances, in their minds anyway, are going down. This year, supply chain issues have been more prevalent than ever. Whether it's the result of natural disasters like Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, global conflict, or inflation, the impacts are being felt everywhere. While they sometimes are a minor inconvenience, delays in accessing essential medications can become catastrophic. The U.S. relies on overseas sources for more than 80% of its generic medications. So what happens when there are delays? Or what if supplies are cut off? How will you care for your loved ones and yourself? The Jase case offers peace of mind for you and your family in the face of delays, shortages, and disasters. This is an emergency medication kit containing 5 life-saving antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. Simply complete a quick online evaluation to ensure you're prepared. The Jase case can also be customized with add-ons like ivermectin, EpiPens, and more. Don't wait. Consider preparing right now. Receive a discount on your Jase case by visiting jase.com and entering promo code MK at checkout. That's promo code MK at jase.com, ensuring you have the right medications exactly when you need them. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.